If you go down to the woods in Kent, you'll be sure of a big surprise. The Second World War is raging, but they're not real bullets, and that's not a real stiff, and they're not real Nazis. They call this living history. It's all good, clean fun. Or is something darker lurking in the woods? It's Glastonbury with tanks. Every year, over 100,000 visitors come to marvel at the biggest military vehicle show in the world. If war's your thing, it's a fun day out for all the family.
Well, everybody, welcome to the KN War and Peace Show 2007, the 25th anniversary of the show that has been claimed as the greatest show on the planet. Are you happy to be here?
Today they're reenacting the Battle of Normandy, 1944. I'm curious. Why do grown men spend their weekends dressed up in out-of-date uniforms, rolling around in the mud? While the bang bang you're dead raged on, I went to meet some of the other reenactors who come from all over the world.
Hello. Hi. Who are you? I'm came from Tokyo, Japan. Hi. Who are you?
General Field Marshal Erich von Manstein.
The 4th Battalion Middlesex Regiment, circa 1917.
Which regiment are you?
Regiment Argyll.
The Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Your regiment?
Gordon.
The Gordon Highlanders.
I'm a agent de Black Watch. Et pour moi, c'est le 2e régiment de la Légion étrangère, the 2nd regiment of the Foreign Legion.
But you're not French.
No, I'm English.
You're not Scottish.
I'm French.
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 They're ordinary people with a less than ordinary hobby. Most reenactors here do the Second World War, so someone's got to play the Germans. But it seems nearly everyone wants to play the bad guys.
Germans to British, you're probably talking 10 to 1.
Yeah, quite easily. I think it might be the glamour of the uniform.
It's the dark side as well.
Yeah, the dark side, as we call it. Yeah.
The last time Fred Roberts faced the German army was on D-Day, and then they weren't playing at Killing. Is this real, this kind of scene? Or is it, I mean, it looks real to me, but I don't know. But
it's not as real as that, because there's a constant fear of everything. It's a fear of getting killed, I think.
Looking around, for every one British reenactor, there are 10 Germans.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, I'm sure. I just don't understand that, quite honestly.
These chaps are SS.
Yeah. Well, I find it rather difficult to come to terms with that because it always brings back memories, and they're only playing as soldiers, but I still find it a little bit shivery.
Here, even the ordinary German soldiers, the Wehrmacht, are outnumbered by the Waffen-SS. Originally Hitler's bodyguards. Aryan supermen, fanatical Nazis. Why would anyone choose to play the SS?
You can't portray history with just the nice bits involved. We don't tend to hide away from the history. We know what the history was about. We understand why it happened. And we try to keep it in people's memory to understand that this happened. I think the worst thing you can do would be to let it go and forget about it. It's a bit strange, actually. My grandfather was Royal Navy, and I can stand here and say that my grandfather fought for my right to wear the German army uniform. You know,
to wear the swastika.
To wear the swastika.
Does this in any way, playing the SS, does that impact on your own personal politics? I mean, are you a member of the Green Party?
Am I a member of the BNP?
It might be a question.
No, not at all.
But so are some of the other chaps. I mean, because I can imagine it happening like that.
Most groups are run on the understanding that if you come into a group and you start spouting off your own personal politics, then you're not welcome.
That's a claim I intended to put to the test.
Have you met Herman Goering yet?
Oh yes, I've been posted with the Reichsmarshal last year.
Reenactors take great pride in their attention to detail. All the uniforms are kosher, so to speak. Even the fake wounds look real.
Fell asleep on duty, so he hit me.
It's all part of bringing the past to life, living history, and it's obvious that the public love it. It's a family affair. Even some of the kids are dressed up as Hitler Youth. Romance is in the air. A couple are getting hitched. Nick Beardshaw and Michaela Zett usually play German medics as reenactors. But previously, we'd seen bride and groom around, dressed in civvies, decorated with SS symbols. My first impression is of a big fat Nazi wedding. Later, I was told I was wrong about that. Apparently, to the trained eye, many of these uniforms are not Nazi at all.
Nick and Michaela, you have given your marriage vows and personal promises to each other in the presence of your family and friends, and I am now delighted to pronounce that you are husband and wife. Would you like to kiss your bride?
Beautiful day, but you're in Nazi uniform.
No, we're not in political uniform, we're just in German uniform, German army uniform. It's to recreate a period in history which obviously can't be forgotten. We're here to show justice and show people's respect to everybody. There's nothing political about it.
It's a free country, and on their happy day, they can wear what they want. If tolerance extends to them, then it should also extend to others who feel that getting married in this way is not just a little bit tacky, but tasteless.
Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think we're on the run? We are the boys who will stop your little game. We are the boys who will make you think again. So who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England's done? Bugger off.
In Britain, we can afford to remember the Second World War with some affection. In Europe, it's a different story. What did German historian Dr. Karina Urbach think of the War and Peace show? To begin with, I showed her some Nazi knickknacks that were on sale. So let's have a look at this stuff. So there's a mouse of Himmler, SS T-shirts, Adolf Hitler beer mat. What struck you as being interesting or shocking?
I was shocked. I didn't want to be shocked because I thought, oh God, I don't want to be provoked and I don't want to be the sensitive German. But I was shocked about these mugs with Hitler images on it. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, the guy wasn't good looking, but apart from that, he's a mass murderer. I mean, you don't want him in your kitchen.
As a teacher herself, did Karina think the living history reenactments had educational value?
I'm sure these people are all perfectionists and get it absolutely right. But what do you learn about history from this? Nothing. where's the context? I mean, where's the feeling for war? Where is the political context? Do you feel the fear? Do you feel the pain of being wounded? You can't reenact any of this.
All right, lads, who got me?
In Germany, displays of the swastika and other symbols of the Third Reich are illegal. Indeed, the German authorities are so anxious about neo-Nazis that they've tried to get the whole of Europe to adopt their ban.
It makes sense in Germany because we had the Holocaust. We have, thank God, we still have some Holocaust survivors around, and I can understand that it upsets them terribly. So we should not have this in Germany. But of course, I would never forbid you to do any of this.
I'm going to kneel down and try and get a photo.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Glück auf! Glück auf! Glück auf! Hey!
Away from the war games, it looks like a car boot sale for the warrior classes. But trading in Nazi memorabilia is a multi-million-pound business. This man, who calls himself Hans, has come over from Germany, where it's a crime to display much of the stuff he's flogging. The German government wants to get this ban on swastikas across the whole of Europe. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I think it's nonsense, because it's part of history. And while you ban just the symbols, you will never ban the idea.
What happens if you were sort of caught on the street wearing that uniform that you're wearing now?
Oh, in Germany?
Yeah.
I would be probably arrested, and then the police would take me to the station, and I will have to go in front of court. The uniform would be confiscated, and they would probably charge me with making Nazi propaganda on the street.
Why this particular bit, though, of German history? What's wrong with, what are Bismarck's Pomeranian Grenadiers?
Why is the fascination for those uniforms?
I mean, looks good.
Probably the one thing is the Nazis knew how to sell themselves, how to make the marches. If you look at Nuremberg, at the Reichsparteitag, they knew how to demonstrate the power. And I would say, at the end, it's fun. If someone is offended by seeing a swastika, he should not go to the show, because he knows what's waiting for him there. Then he should just skip the show and stay at home.
Jewish people would say that's offensive.
Yeah, then he shouldn't come here.
Halfway through the War and Peace show, British summertime arrives. I've seen plenty of war, but where's the peace? Even the umbrellas sport SS symbols. When the rain lets up, I meet author Harry Pearson. His book, Achtung Schweinhund, pokes fun at our love affair with the Second World War. So what do you think of the show so far?
In a sense, it may be accurate to the British vision of the war because our memory of it isn't of the actual event. It's of all the paraphernalia surrounding it, Action Man and all these things. So our view of the war is kind of confused in a sense by that because there's a real war and then there's the fictional war that came afterwards, which is all good fun and explosions, and at the end of it, everyone goes home for tea.
If I'd come here as a small boy, I think I'd probably have wet my pants with excitement, I must say. So all the things that I spent my teenage years making models of are here. Well, here are models of them, but bigger than the models that I made.
Now have a look at that little detail there. There's the Nazi in the black coat with his leg up and his dog, and the dog's got a...
It's got a leg in its mouth.
With blood on it. Now, I last did that. I can remember sort of painting little airfix soldiers when I was 7. What's the single thing that you think's missing from what you've seen here so far?
I guess that there's nothing about the Holocaust here at all. And, there's nothing about that, the political aspect of Nazism, which, the Nazism was a political movement.
I went in search of anything that might commemorate the Holocaust. What I found was not what I expected. How much is this?
Expensive. 550.
550 quid. Why are you selling a concentration camp trolley?
You know, that's just a wooden thing with iron on it. I'm not selling grenades or bullets, it's just a wooden trolley. So.
Yeah, it doesn't say just a wooden trolley. It says concentration camp trolley, SS marked Bergen-Belsen. It feels somehow wrong.
There's a difference between politics and collecting.
Right, okay.
So I don't do politics.
Nobody here seems to do politics. But hang on, here's someone who's intensely political. Writer David Irving is a pin-up for Europe's neo-Nazis. Like his hero Adolf Hitler, Irving stirs up passions wherever he goes. Hello, Mr. Irving. It's John Sweeney from the BBC. Hello. We're doing a film about Beltering, the War and Peace conference. I was just, well, not conference, camp.
Just actually arrived about 5 minutes ago, so I'm not properly set up, but these are the books which I'm working on here.
How many books have you sold so far?
I've only been here 10 minutes. I sold 2 books and a video, and I expect I'll sell about 100.
What do you want to tell people through your books, through all this stuff? What are you here for?
Can't be hammered into the ground. They do everything they can, my opponents, to silence me. They smash the windows of Waterstones if Waterstone sells my books. They put pressure on the printers, they put pressure on my publishers around the world, not just in England. They intimidate.
Others disagree. In 2000, a British judge described Irving as an active Holocaust denier, anti-Semitic and racist. Last year, he was jailed in Austria for denying the Holocaust. People say that your books tell lies.
Yeah, I think they tell lies too. At the end of the Lipstadt trial in the year 2000, I remember saying on television, there must be millions of people around England who've got my books in their bookshelves, scratching their heads and saying, what's going on here? We've read his books. He gets magnificent reviews from real experts, not just these jumped-up paid experts in the High Court. They say magnificent things about his books. Who's telling the truth? Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, John. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Oh, you hesitated.
I hesitated.
You hesitated.
But I shook your hand.
Yeah.
I also...
Well, you've shaken the hand that has shaken more hands that shook Adolf Hitler's hand than any hand in this entire campsite.
While Mr. Irving continued autographing his version of history, one of my colleagues filmed in the tent behind him. This is the place to buy your hardcore Nazi paraphernalia. But it's the pamphlets which are on display that leave the nastiest taste. They're blatantly anti-Semitic. I get the impression that some people are taking advantage of the show and our great tradition of freedom of speech to peddle their tat, and some very peculiar politics. I'm running late. The toilet block looks like the Somme. But I've got a date with the Waffen-SS. The largest German reenactment group here is the 2nd Battle Group. They portray the 1st SS Panzer Division, Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler, originally the Führer's bodyguards. Heavy dudes.
Okay, come to attention. Say jawohl, unter Schaffer. Alles klar? Alles klar.
For the punters, it's a day out with a difference. But for these guys, it's no joking matter.
Fritz. Jawohl, unter Schaffer. Strudel. Jawohl, unter Schaffer.
Even a basic uniform will set you back 500 quid, and that's before you've accessorised. All commands are given in word-perfect German.
Ken Carter? After Ken Carter?
Well, almost. I was hoping to introduce myself to the fussy chap on the right, Glenn Swallow. He's the Sturmscharführer, the boss man to you and me. But I sense this wasn't quite the moment. Instead, I thought I'd check back with Hans, the trader, whose party trick I discovered is to stamp the SS lightning flashes on a 50p bit and a swastika on the Queen's head. Isn't there a law against that? But hold on, there's a copper on hand, one of a number we'd heard were in the reenactment scene. The guy in the Nazi hat is a member of the 2nd Battle Group. I wanted to ask him if he saw any contradiction between playing the SS and being a police officer.
And my name.
Then you can give me your
Hiya.
address if I send that to a road.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, Hans. So I was just going to have a word with you, actually. Well, I'd like to have a chat.
You wearing a microphone?
Yes, but no, not at all. It's a free country.
Tell the camera to go down.
Not at all, no, because it's a free country. Anyway, I've heard that you're a police officer, is that right? Because what you're doing is you're associating with some very strange people. Why running away from me? Hans had told us he'd visited Hitler's mountain retreat with the policeman, but we didn't get the chance to ask him why. Later, the copper told us he didn't hold right-wing or Nazi views, and his hobby didn't affect the way he did his job. I retreated to my bunker to try and find out more about the second battle group. They've been in Saving Private Ryan and several BBC docudramas. Fair enough. Their website declares, the SPG is a totally non-political organisation. We do not aim to glorify war or the Nazi regime, but we do aim to portray the fighting German Waffen-SS soldier as accurately as possible. But the regimental history they present is far from accurate. Here there's no mention of the murder of 80 British POWs near Dunkirk in 1940, or say the killing of 400-odd POWs and civilians in 1944. If you're going to portray the SS accurately, what about the massacres? Watching the reenactments, I don't see any prisoners being shot in the back. I felt I had to ask, why don't they mention the war crimes? I was just wondering, what about the, like the bad history? They were,
the what?
The bad history of the SS. They were an army.
We don't represent the SS as such, as what you're thinking of. It's an armoured group.
But it was a Nazi fighting machine. Yeah, well, they went around massacring civilians. Sorry?
I'm Jewish.
Are you really Jewish? So, yeah, but they were, you know, they massacred people. They massacred civilians in France, they massacred the British. I mean, if you're doing it accurately, you ought to know about this, surely. Then the man in black asks his officer, hidden behind the vehicle, for help. Have I caught the SS at a bad moment?
Get rid of him, please, but I'm going to whack him up, boys. No, seriously, mate, I'm going to...
Then it seems the SPG troops were issued with orders to remain silent in the face of the enemy, and I had no ways of making them talk. Apparently you've
got to go and speak to one of the officers.
You're not talking to the BBC. I was just wondering why that is.
I don't know, you just had to talk to one of the officers.
Okay. But surely you're actors, it's not a military unit.
We just got instructions.
Is there anybody here who'll talk to me? What's the problem? It's the 21st century. Why are you running away from me? I don't feel as though I'm being made welcome. Finally, I tracked down the senior officer on duty for the second battle group, Glenn Swallow. You've decided not to talk to the BBC. Why is that?
No comment.
You're wearing SS uniform. Why do you choose to reenact a Nazi racial supremacist military fighting machine? Why is it impossible in England in the 21st century to answer my questions?
No comment.
Thank you. I wanted to catch the second battle group in a more relaxed moment. Once the public go home, the reenactors hit the beer tent reserved for them. But few of the SS seem to have slipped into something more comfortable, apart from the odd zombie. None of the second battle group would talk when our camera was around, so we used hidden cameras. Their website claims they are not political, but in private, their senior officer, Mr. No Comment himself, Glenn Swallow, after quite a few beers, was only too keen to share his politics.
A unit like the Waffen SS, if it existed now, it's too late for me now, I would join. Yeah. And I believe we should be sorting these Muslims out, personally.
In the pitch black in the early hours of the morning, Swallow's face is not clear, but here he is talking with a chum from another SS reenactment group about the British Army.
And all these perverts out of Africa, they're a waste of time.
Tell me about it.
The trouble's just lazy. And they undermine the morale of the unit. All this PC goes on. I got investigated at least 3 times. Someone's been asking questions about the way that you think, what you do. And now the Muslims have played the card. Now they've realised, instead of looking at people like us, which is on the system side, they should be looking at them. Yeah. And I know this truthfully. Because I've been told.
Nice gas chamber somewhere.
I was curious to know what a foot soldier in the SPG had to say for himself. Here's one, setting out his views on black people.
There's no niggers in yard. Did I say that out loud? I mean, the thing is, I've got to admit, I've worked with coons who were actually really nice guys. I mean, sound as a pound. But if it came down to it, if I had a choice, it's like you had to get rid of all of them, or none of them, I'd have to be all of them.
I'd been warned that the SS reenactment scene is in danger of being infiltrated by far-right groups from across Europe. Combat 18 and Blood and Honour are neo-Nazi organisations with a history of violence.
I know him. Well, you guys are genuine Combat 18 from Holland, yeah? Yeah, Blood and Honour. Yeah. Got different views. Yeah. But all come under C18. Yeah. We're like Blood and Honour and Combat 18 together. No?
Boris Banwitz has come over from Germany to join up with his British mates in a Luftwaffe reenactment group. He's the kind of Nazi who gives Nazis a bad name.
We are losing our country, we are losing our blood. It's yellow because of jigaboos and that stuff. You understand, niggas? The blood is not any more fresh. No. You can't get the blood good again. Yeah, and they have to. It will go to the whole future, and we won't have like the Nordic one and so on. And the other problem is, who does get children? The people who don't have work, without intelligence, you say those brainless people, they get 10 children, the higher intellect or the worker class does get only a few. So if you reduce that into the future, how the brain gonna start out? Because only those low-level people get children.
This is what you have to put up with if you value free speech. The second battle group told us that they are a non-political organisation and will not tolerate members with extreme right-wing views, that they strongly oppose racism and fascism, and they will be carrying out an internal investigation. The War and Peace Show organisers told us they did not invite or welcome David Irving and have always tried to police the show to the best of their ability. They do not want extremists here and regret the unacceptable stupidity of a tiny minority. Most reenactors are here for the beer and the fun. But on the dark side, it seems to me that there are too many people going around unchallenged, unrepentant, who think that what the 21st century is missing is the firm hand of Adolf Hitler. And that's not on. Not even for the weekend.
And Panorama is back on Thursday with a shocking report. More details coming up. And next tonight on BBC One Scotland, the results of Test the Nation.